All right, so you pass the Core 1A Plus. Now it's time to take the second part. So gang, originally I was going to have this just for my students, the people that's in the Zero to IT Hero program, but I decided to share it with all of y'all. From time to time, I'm gonna be talking to my guys and my girls directly. So if you're not in the program, those spots aren't for you. They're for students who are actually inside the program. One of the questions that I get from my students and from people on YouTube and just social media in general is, which one is harder? Is the first one harder or is the second one harder? The answer is, it depends. Now, I know that isn't the answer a lot of people were looking for, but it's the truth. Some people take the second part and say, man, that was way easier than the first part. Then other people take the first part, pass it, and end up failing the second part because it's a lot more difficult. You gotta understand that there are two exams that go to the same certification, but they're two different realms. If you are studying the same stuff that you were studying for Core 1, you will not pass Core 2. Make sure that you are hyper-focused on the topics that are going to be specific to this exam. Great news is that you're ready, like really, really ready.
I'm ready! I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready.
Go SpongeBob!
Now, I know you guys are super smart and already know exactly how this exam is going to be set up. It's going to be set up exactly like the first part, but just in case you were wondering, it's going to be 90 minutes and 90 questions. Core 2 covers the following domains: operating systems, security, software troubleshooting, and operational procedures. So, pop quiz, out of all these domains, which one should you be focused on? Right, you should mainly be focused on security. Why? Because that's going to be the biggest portion of the exam. So if you want to not suck at anything, make sure that you don't suck at security. Make sure that you stick around to the end of this video where we actually go into a real practice exam. But before we get into all that, I want to say thank you. Thank you to my current students and my future students for joining the Master IT program and entrusting me with their training needs. I also want to give a quick shout out to Canada. Thank you so much. The Canadians that watch this channel, you're much appreciated. Over the last few weeks, Canada has given me the most super thanks. If you're watching this and you want to continue to watch videos like this and support the channel so I can continue to make videos like this, you go ahead and hit the super thanks. Whatever you send will be greatly appreciated. So the exam is going to have a bunch of different types of questions. So you got multiple choice questions, you got fill in the blank questions, you got drag and drop questions, and you have PBQs. PBQs are performance-based questions. These questions are worth a lot of points, and if you get all the PBQs wrong, you're probably going to fail the exam. So long story short, you need to pay super close attention and make sure that you get the PBQs right. So again, let's go and get to these questions. Remember, you're some of the smartest people on the planet. You've been studying, you're ready, you're prepared. And remember, 20 seconds. You got 20 seconds to read the question and decipher what the correct answer is. If you can do that right now, you'll be able to kill it once you actually get inside of the exam room. One last thing. Remember, gang, this is the pre-test to the pre-test, right? So this is going to be a lot easier than the actual pre-test and the final exam inside the program. The reason for that is because I want you to get acclimated just to the time thing, right? Just to the time. Okay, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. And by the time you get to the final exam, you will be ready. You'll be proficient. By the time you actually get to the actual certification exam, it's going to be too easy. Trust me, this has worked for a bunch of other people and it's going to work for you too. So robocopy or robust file copy uses multi-threading, which makes it a lot faster than any of the other options that were presented to you, right? So just remember that when you're going through this stuff, look at that type of stuff. The main thing that should have popped out at you was multi-threading. Oh, I know robocopy uses multi-threading, right? So a lot of times it's keywords, it's little hints, it's certain stuff that's going to pop out at you. And when that stuff pops out at you, make sure that you choose the right choice. Because if you're in the training program, if you're doing what you need to do, those answers are coming to you or standing out to you or seem like they're highlighted for a reason. So you guys already know subnetting simply makes sure that you don't waste IP addresses, right? We want to make sure that we don't have a scope that has 1,000 IP addresses when we only needed 100 IP addresses, right? So subnetting actually makes sub networks from your main network. That way we don't waste IP addresses in our scope, so we can actually apply those IP addresses to other areas. It also makes administrative tasks and figuring out where stuff is at a lot easier, right? So instead of having one huge network, let's subnet the IT department, let's subnet human resources, let's subnet so on and so forth, right? So every network that we have, this network has this devices, that network has those devices, so on and so forth. So both dictionary attacks and brute force attacks, right, pretty much try to guess passwords until they are guessed. A brute force attack pretty much literally just 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, however many times it takes to crack a password, to crack a device, is going to go ahead and do that. Now, a dictionary attack is a little bit different because what it does is it starts at A, the first letter in the dictionary, and it goes all the way to the last word in the dictionary, and it tries to see if your password either one is any of those actual words or if it contains any of those words. Okay, so a dictionary attack or a brute force attack, WPA2 would be highly susceptible to that. So just make sure that you are not using WPA. So recently, the name of this attack actually changed. It used to be called a man in the middle. So a lot of you guys might be like, man in the middle, man in the middle, man in the middle. It's actually now called an on-path attack. If you're taking the exam, on-path attack. Technically, it's a man in the middle, new name, on-path attack, right? So same thing that the man in the middle pretty much does. On the way, on the path, on the street, on the block that you want to send stuff to, is going to be something in the middle of that. Whether it's a person, whether it's a software, whether it's a listening device, there's going to be something in the middle of that that either tries to capture that information, tries to manipulate that information, or just tries to take hold of that information and store it for later use, so on and so forth. All right, so on-path attack means that there's something malicious on the pathway to where you're trying to go to. ADO 2.11n was originally created to improve performance, speed, reliability, and it was actually the first standard to incorporate MIMO, which means multiple input, multiple output, which basically means you're going to have a router, a device that's going to actually have a bunch of antennas. So multiple inputs, multiple outputs. Once again, This is the pretest. Right after this, go into the actual pretest. This is the pretest to the pretest. After this, go right into taking the pretest. After that, you will unlock your final exam. Make sure that you knock that out as soon as possible so we can get you the voucher so you can take the real thing. Remember, butterflies, whatever hell's going on, the reason that you're in here is to get certified. So knock all that stuff out, reach out to your student success coach, and get your voucher so you can take the damn exam. Remember, that's why you're here. So just a quick side note, gang. Do you see how these questions are kind of coming out? Got a little stuff from here, a little stuff from there. That's how the actual exam is going to be as well. The first part, that's how it is. This one is no different. They're not going to have a section about security and then it's going to be 20 questions. Then a section about networking, or a section about Windows operating system, or a section about blah, blah, and then it will give you all the questions from there. You may have an operating system question, then you may have a security question, then you may have a networking question, so on and so forth. So you kind of got to change gears, right? You got to always be in an analytical and critical thinking mindset, but just remember, it's not going to be laid out perfect and pretty where every topic, okay, this is what we about to talk about security, 20 questions, so on and so forth. That makes sense? So a proxy server is pretty much like a middleman. Remember we talked about that earlier. So instead of connecting directly to a site or to a device, you will go to the proxy server and say, hey, I want to go to ESPN.com. And then the proxy server will connect to ESPN.com or to whatever website that you didn't want to connect to directly. And they'll probably, not probably, they'll pretty much be a go-between, right? So you're rocking out, and instead of looking like you're on the site, it's going to have the IP address of the proxy server. So whatever state, wherever this proxy server is, that's where it would look like the request and stuff was coming from. So a system log pretty much is a server that helps a lot with maintenance, making sure that the server is working properly, right? So it literally logs all the events that happen, everything that's going on, downtime, uptime, how many users, the times that most users are on, so on and so forth, right? So that's literally what it is. Syslog is short for system log. It takes a log, jots down notes, data, so on and so forth of what's been going on in the server. And it gives you a snapshot of the health of the server, anything that you may need to improve, some things that you may need to optimize as well. After you verify full system functionality, which is a fancy way to say that everything works good. And remember, that is one of the most important, if not the most important thing to do in the real world, right? If you ever are on a trouble call, if you ever are having to troubleshoot something, having to fix something, make sure the shit works before you leave, right? You got to make sure that, because that's the whole thing. Okay, you're supposed to come there and fix something and not a damn computer won't even turn on, right? Imagine how upset you would be. So make sure that you didn't break anything that you weren't supposed to, and that you fix your problem and it's working correctly. And just a side note, a great way to do that and to confirm that, you do it, then have a person do it. If they're around, hey, what the issue that you was having, go ahead and rock out and let me make sure this is working good for you now. It's good? Okay, great. After you do that, you document. The answer is document, right? So you document everything that you did to verify the full system functionality, everything that you did to actually fix the issue. The reason that you want to do that, one, not to waste time for yourself, and two, to make sure that your team is cohesive. So if you go out there, somebody else go out there, everybody will be okay. Nobody is gonna be like, oh, I don't know what to do. All right, so documenting will save you time, energy, and money. So infrastructure as a service. So gang, it's your turn. This is what I want you to do in the comments. For one, tell me an example of infrastructure as a service. Give me an example of platform as a service, and give me an example of software as a service. It's your time to shine. So if you're in a super rural place, right, like where they film The Hills Have Eyes or something, you may need to have satellite internet because there is no fiber drops, there is no fiber links, there is no high-speed internet, there's nothing. If you want to send an email, if you want to do anything on the internet, you're in such a rural, I don't want to say desolate, but you're kind of just out of the way, right? You are somewhere where there's probably not a lot of other people, or not even unless we don't have to always, hills have eyes in the woods. You may be out at sea, right? For example, people that are in the Navy, in the military, people that are on boats, just in general, if they want to have internet, a lot of times they'll have to get satellite internet because your cell phone isn't going to work. Hotspots aren't going to work. You're going to need that direct link from a satellite to get on the internet and do things you need to do. Now, the only thing with satellites is line of sight. If it's cloudy, probably a wrap. If there's anything in front of you in front of the satellite that's blocking a direct beam straight to you, most likely it's not gonna work. All right, gang, so now I just wanna give you a few tips for test day. But before we do that, I just want you to take a couple minutes. If you got any of these wrong or second guessed any of them, I want you to take a minute and research for one, the right answer, right? Why that is the answer, and the other options, why those wouldn't be a great fit. So pause this video, open up another tab. To all my students, go back through the training. If any of these, I'm talking about if you had an inkling, if you didn't know immediately what the answer was, that's no bueno. You need to know the answer to all of these, not in 20 seconds, but damn near as soon as you finish reading the question, you shouldn't have to look at the answers, right? That's how we train. So if you don't have to look at the answers, right, you should be able to fill in the blank, right? So all of these exams, whether it's a certification exam, this practice exam, whatever it is, once you get finished reading the questions, if it was not multiple choice, if nothing was down there, you should be able to plug in the answer. If you're not that proficient yet, you need to go back and go through the training. So even though this is the third exam you guys are taking, you probably still got butterflies, but by now you should make those butterflies fly in formation. You've passed exams before, and this one is going to be no different. Another tip, no cram sessions. No cram sessions the day of the exam. If you are still studying, still making flashcards, still trying to figure out what the OSI model is, still trying to figure out if computer is spelled with a C or a K, it's a wrap. Okay? If you still forgetting stuff and not knowing the basic stuff, not the students in my program, but if you're not in the program, you need to reschedule the damn exam. You're not ready. You're not ready at all. Reschedule the exam. No point in going in there taking an L. Another quick life hack or tip is make sure that you show up, whether you're taking it in person or taking it at the house. If you're taking it at the house, I would say start preparing maybe 30 minutes before. Make sure that your workspace is clean. Talk to your neighbors. If they do weird stuff, if you got roommates, talk to them. If you got kids, a spouse, whoever it is, hey man, I got to take this exam that might change my life. I need you to shut the fuck up. for the next hour and a half, right? Now, don't say that as bluntly as I put it, unless you do MMA or something. But just make sure that you're going to be in a quiet environment, right? Make sure that you're going to be in a quiet environment that is going to be conducive to you learning. All right, gang, you are ready. You are ready to take the exam. After this, directly after this, take the pretest, take your final, do those other things after the final, which is you're about to have a surprise, and then get your voucher and take the exam. Let me know on Instagram, in the private chat, or let's see where else. Oh, your student success coach. That'd probably be the best place. Tell them when you pass, we'll have a celebration and we'll be proud of you, and then we'll move on to the next win. Other than that, see you in class.